In the previous video, we created a purchase order. In this video, we're going to cover managing that purchase order. Once we've sent off our purchase order, it will appear here on the purchase orders not confirmed list. Clicking on this loads the purchase order for us, broken down by job. Typically, we're going to receive a confirmation via email, but we could just call the vendor, right-click on the purchase order, and confirm the purchase order. Here we can select the items and set a date for those items. Enterprise Manager also adds a ribbon plugin to Outlook. Files that have PDFs attached will have this. We can select Attachment, PO Confirmation, and it will launch a copy of Enterprise Manager, ask us for the purchase order, and allow us to set the dates. In this case, we're going to set those dates to today. And then it will ask us if we want to attach the file, and it opens up the purchase order for our inspection. The color has changed on the items to indicate that they have a confirmed date. From now on, clicking on this purchase order will show both the emailed purchase order and the confirmation, which anyone can open in the future. We're just pretending this is a confirmation. If this confirmed date comes and goes without the item receiving, then we will get an alert, and we'll see that in a minute. You can see several of them here already, actually. But it has dropped off my purchase orders not confirmed list. This little V here is a drop down, and here's where we're selecting what we're searching by. Right now it's set to search by job. So if we put in 6081, either by typing or looking it up, then we'll see just the purchase orders assigned to this job. If we search by purchase order number and search by 19, then we will see all of the jobs that are assigned to 19. We can also change it to not group by the job at all. For example, someone in a purchasing role might not care what job it was going to, and they just want to see all of the line items for purchase order number 19. These here select the default expansion level. On a large job, seeing every item can lead to very large search results. We're going to go ahead and change one of these items to indicate that it was supposed to have been received yesterday, which doesn't make any sense, but works for our demonstration purposes. You'll see now it shows as overdue, and on my home screen I have a PO overdue. Follow up with the vendor and enter a new confirmation. If we stay on top of this, we'll never run out of product that we expected to have. The next step will typically be receiving. The receiving user will click Receive PO, type in the PO number, and be presented with the goods receipt form. Alternatively, we can right-click on the purchase order, go to Receiving, and receive the PO. The receiving user can input the effective date for the receipt if it's not today, and then cannot save until they approve each line. So they must go down each line and enter or accept the quantity to receive. The field is pre-populated with the quantity that is open to be received. Since this purchase order is entirely unreceived, that means that it's the full quantity. So in this case, we're going to indicate that we received 25 of these, 11 of those, 4 of these, 5 of those, and 2 of these. Because every line has been visited, it automatically asks if we want to save the good receipts and exit. In this case, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to add a note. And as we look at each item, we can see the details for that item over here. We could also add a note to that item, and you'll see it's pre-populated with the project manager's name, the project engineer's name, the person who ordered the item, or other. And we could select from anybody. We'll go ahead and save this goods receipt, It asks us if we want to print labels. We're going to say no because I don't have a label printer. I changed my mind. We're going to say yes so that we can view them. The first item is a label that represents the actual goods receipt itself. We usually slap this right on top of the packing slip. Then we'll receive a label for each item. And if you notice, there was a label quantity, so if we had 400 hinges and we wanted to stick a label on 4 boxes, we could change that to 4. Or if we had 17 pieces of laminate and we wished to apply a label to each piece of laminate, we could put in 17. It's asking if we'd like to attach a file to it. Examples would include a packing slip, an invoice, etc. So we'll say yes. At this point, because I have always attached files on my computer by selecting them, it's defaulted to that. But I could attach a photo if I were on a tablet, and I do have a webcam on my computer, or I could scan in from a document scanner. In this case, I've canceled out. Now you'll see this is updated with color coding. The purchase order has become yellow. Yellow is partially received. The item that's green is fully received. The item that's red is over received. And the item that's yellow is under received. On my home screen now, I'll have a few new entries. I have an item telling me that we received more items than we ordered. So we need to either correct the receipt or adjust the order quantity. Correcting the receipt would be in the case where we determined that we input the wrong quantity. Adjusting the ordered quantity would be in the case where we determined we're going to keep the overly ordered item. So in this case, let's edit our existing goods receipt. There was only one, so it opened it. If there was more than one, we would be presented with a list to select from. And we'll come down here, and we will say, not only did they overly receive it, we input 11 when it should have been 12. So it didn't change anything. This is in fact even more overly received than it was previously. So let's just say now that we receive this item again. You notice that the receipt quantities are pre-populated with the available quantities. So we're going to say in this case we've received all of the outstanding items. Because I've hit every line item, it's prompting me if I want to save. We'll say yes. We don't need any more labels, but we might if we were really receiving them. We might attach another packing slip. And you'll see it's still sitting on here. So in this case, we're going to determine we actually want to keep the 2 extra items. So we'll simply increase the open quantity, and now it's disappeared from our home screen. Pulling up this purchase order, everything's green, it's fully received. If we pull up one of the jobs, which has items on it, you'll see it's separated by location. 19 is totally green. The items that have been ordered, and these are real orders from Emmitsburg, haven't been received yet, and one of them is overdue. And you can see when we click on a job, we don't have any real costs of goods that have been invoiced yet. We don't have any purchase order charges. But we do have expected costs. Enterprise Manager is guessing as to the value of the things which haven't been received yet. The next step is typically going to be an invoice. Again, the invoicing user can click the Invoice PO button and key in the purchase order number. Or we can right-click on the purchase order and select to invoice the PO. We're going to input the vendor's invoice number. And again, we're going to be required to visit every line item. So we're going to put the invoice quantity and the invoice cost. And if the vendor sent us something that was confusing, we can use the price calculator to come up with it. Again, we can key in math here. So if we ordered by a different unit of measure than the vendor, for example, we put in 25 sheets and they gave us 50 cents a square foot, we're able to do math and have it work out for us. In this case, we'll key in the freight directly off of the invoice. And we're going to get an acceptance. It's going to list the exceptions. So you can see these lines were invoiced at different costs than what was on the purchase order. We were invoiced more items than we've received and more items than we've ordered. Invoiced at different cost. And the non-tax charges exceed what is specified on the purchase order. This is simply a prompt for the invoicing user to double check their entries and not to do anything about it. The responsibility to act on this is going to fall back on the purchasing agent. So once I've checked and made sure that this total is what it shows on the invoice, I'm just going to say yes. It's going to ask me if I'd like to attach a file. And again, here's where we could enter the invoice and scan it, take a picture of it. Likewise, again, under attachment, we can select PO invoice if our invoice comes in via email. And we can go right to attaching that invoice and it won't ask us to scan anything. Let's look at just purchase order 19 again. Let's change, as a purchaser probably would, to just grouping by vendor. So clicking on these items, you can see the quantity received, you can see the average cost, you can see a landed cost, which is all of the other costs on the purchase order spread across the items on the purchase order. You can see these ones were overly invoiced. And if I go to my home screen now, as the purchaser, I will see entries for vendor invoicing excess PO charges. We either need to edit the purchase order to accept the charges, or we need to obtain a credit. And here we have items where the vendor invoiced the higher cost. These are going to stay here until someone does something about them. If we go back to here, let's group by job again. If I click on this job now, start to see we actually have some cost of goods and some PO charges. And we still have expected costs because some of these items haven't been fully invoiced yet. And you'll see we can create budgets and determine where we are in relation to the budget. And that's it for purchase order management.